2200 rapid rating video on chess.com. In this game, I have a 2156 rating, and I was playing someone with a 2143 rating. And without further ado, let's just jump right in. Pawn to d4, knight f6, pawn to c4, e6, knight c3. Instead of my usual bishop to b4 here, I play pawn to c5 and play the Benoni. But almost always white will go pawn to d5, and then we get a structure like this, where black will look to fianchetto this kingside bishop, put it on the long diagonal, and white will usually look to gain a big center. Instead, we didn't have that. White played the more conservative and solid e3. I play b6. White still can go d5, but I doubt he'll do that now. Knight to f3, bishop to b7, and even d5 is possible here because of take. I still can't take this pawn or anything. It's really the same situation. I'll probably go d6 and then g6 and fianchetto my bishop. But once again, since white has already committed this pawn to e3 and not e4, I don't think white is going to play pawn to d5. So instead, bishop to d3, bishop to e7, and now we've actually transposed into a Queen's Indian by a unusual transposition. The chess.com opening book calls it the Queen's Indian defense Spassky system. So we've just transposed to a different line. White castles kingside, and I take on d4, e takes d4, and d5. So I'm basically asking white, okay, what are you going to do here? I might play d takes c4 and give you an isolated queen pawn. Are you going to do anything about that? Yes. White is going to take back on d5. I play knight takes, and then white goes queen to b3. So I think this is kind of going in the wrong direction a little bit. I think something like queen to e2 or knight to e5 might have been better. But queen b3, I just castle. White goes bishop to e4, saying, okay, you can't move your knight anywhere, or I'm going to take your bishop on b7. You can't play knight takes c3, because if so, bishop takes b7, and white is going to be much better. So what are you going to do? I play knight to c6. Good move. The engine calls it an inaccuracy, but I'm going to disagree with that. Knight takes d5, e takes d5, and here white plays bishop takes d5. And unfortunately, he cannot do that because of knight to a5. So I had kind of seen this. This queen has to move away from defense of this bishop. So there are really two options here. You can play bishop takes b7 and give up the queen, or you can play bishop takes f7. The engine prefers bishop takes b7 and then giving up the queen, but I think it's not that much of a difference, to be honest. Both of them are pretty undesirable options, but in the game he plays bishop takes f7, rook takes f7, and queen to e6. I go bishop takes f3, g takes f3, and here I am simply up a piece after queen d6, queen to e4, and I'm thinking, okay, all I have to do here is 1, not get mated, 2, don't hang any pieces, and I'll win this game easily. I've got the safer king, I'm up a minor piece, I've got the better pawn structure, just don't blunder. I blundered immediately. So I go rook f6, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go like checkmate him or something, and I hung my rook. So it's tough. I thought for like nearly a minute and 20 seconds too on that move, which is even more sad. But rook f6, give up the rook, sacrifice the rook, maybe. But pretty much here, it's not completely over because white's pieces are very not coordinated, and once again, white still has kind of an unsafe king, so there's a chance that I could get lucky here. White should just retreat his queen immediately back into the game and say, okay, what'd you give me that rook for? And I would struggle to answer that question. But instead, white goes f4, which is already very unusual. White obviously wanted to stop my queen's influence on this diagonal, but I think he overlooked my next move, which is knight to c6, which is the only move that holds equality. and I played this move relatively quickly. So the idea is one, keep this queen out of the game, and two, it also defends uh, the pawn on a7. Also, it could potentially jump into the action at some point. But now White's queen is completely out of the game, so I can look to try and attack him. Bishop to e3, rook to h6, rook to e1, and I give a check. So I guess better here would be to play either f3 or king to h1, but rook e1, unfortunately, queen g6 is going to be very good for me. King f1. The engine prefers queen d3 slightly over rook takes h2, which is what I played in the game. I was kind of unsure what happens after rook e2 here. The engine suggests queen to e4. Queen e4, and then I guess, what if king here? Oh, I guess I'm just winning the rook. Yeah, I'm just winning the rook in the corner. Okay. So in the game, I played rook h2 because I saw that he cannot go king to e2. He needs to move his queen, I think. But instead, he goes pawn to f5, trying to get me to take here and then give up the knight on c6. But unfortunately, I give a check on g2, king to e2, and knight takes d4, and that's going to be a free queen. And I figured this would finally be enough to win this game. And sure enough, it was. And the game ended shortly after with a nice tactic here where I saw bishop to g5, and then I win all the pieces, but he continues to keep playing and gets mated. But that's going to be all for this game. Once again, it was a pretty good game up until the point that I absolutely hung a full rook, but I was once again very, very lucky that I was even still in this game at this point. But it was nice to make a comeback after already being up a piece and to win this game. I think that's going to be all, and I will see you guys in the next video.